Greetings, everybody. Welcome once again to the Autódromo Velocitta. It's the first weekend in the 2025 Porsche Cup and Sprint Challenge Brasil in what is 20th anniversary celebrating the very first season. Drivers have been up and down the length of the pit lane all weekend long in Porsche Cup, Sprint Challenge, and in the Porsche Trophy. But as you can see, it's a very different Autódromo Velocitta to what we had 24 hours ago. Yesterday, it was sunshine and bright blue sky, not a cloud in the sky. Today, it couldn't be any more different. It is very much a full humidity race weekend now. 73% humidity, 100% chance of rain, 24 degrees Celsius ambient temperature. The temperature has dropped quite considerably, and the wind has picked up to 10 kilometers an hour. So it's going to be a bit of touch and go at the moment as to whether or not we're actually going to get racing at all. As you can see, the rain is absolutely ferocious here in Mogi Guaçu. Currently, it is raining particularly heavy out on the circuit. We were due to head out onto the starting grid about a minute ago. At this moment in time, it is unclear as to whether we are going to be racing at all on this particular day of race action. We had a similar situation last year when the cars lining up on the grid and having a monstrous rain shower. But ironically enough, it was on this very circuit at the same time, same place last year at the Autódromo Velocitta circuit. However, the storm is even bigger this year than it was last year. On that occasion, we had to cancel the races. We don't know if that is the situation at the present moment in time here at the Autódromo Velocitta. Currently, the plans are that we're racing if we get the opportunity to, but that is all very much dependent on how heavy the rain gets. I'm Drake Sanson in the commentary box. If we are going to get some racing done today, obviously I'll be there to talk you through the entire bit. If not, then we'll have to wait for 2 weeks' time when we are back on the Autódromo Velocitta circuit for the second and final time this year, at which point I am sure grid formation for these second races in both Porsche Carrera Cup and Porsche Sprint Challenge will be saved. And then we will have an additional race on schedule with the grid positions as they currently are. And those will be the races that we will add to the schedule in 2 weeks' time. This is what we did in 2024. That is the contingency plan if we do not racing here today. As you for yourselves on the live broadcast, about as far away from as to whether we're racing or not as we are from the Argentine border. It's a long way away. So we're going to try and figure out what the situation is. The drivers are just keeping themselves calm and dry in their garages. We're not getting ourselves wet if we don't have to. So we will have what the plan is before we can go racing again. We will, of course, keep you posted and keep you updated. So what I suggest you do is you get yourself a nice cup of tea or a nice hot drink or yourself some food, because we could be waiting for a few minutes more for a decision, because as you can see for yourself, the rain is heavy. There is some suggestion, though, on our weather radars that the rain should be clearing. So that will probably take a few minutes or so to get on that particular eventuality. But if that is the case, then obviously we'll need to make another decision as to ascertain whether it's going to be a safety car start. I don't think it will be, and how long the safety car would stay out if we are racing. That's one of the key difficult decision-making process right now, is that we haven't just got certain water on the circuit, we've got huge lakes of water just off the racing line itself. So very tricky with aquaplane in particular as one of the biggest difficulties in terms of deciding the process. But if this storm pattern blasts over the circuit and manages to blow away and clear, then we should be able to get underway with racing relatively short. It's coming up to 25 minutes past 2 in the afternoon. So we haven't got a massive amount of time to play with in terms of making a decision. But I'm sure that the powers that be, the organisers, have looked over every eventuality. You can see how heavy the rain currently is out on the circuit. Hopefully that will clear in a few minutes. Once it does, we'll be able to ascertain the situation and try and figure out whether we're going to get some form of racing underway today or not. If we do, then it will be Seba Malucelli that takes up residence in pole position in the Porsche Carrera Cup, alongside Nelson Condes, with Miguel Paludo going for his 40th career victory in Porsche Carrera Cup. If he does that, he will become the most successful driver in Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil history. He is alongside Luno Perez on the second row of the grid, with Lucas Salas and Matias Camarato, and the race one winner yesterday, Christian Hahn, starting P7 on the grid, as it was drawn that the top 7 drivers would be rotated and inverted to create grid draw. In Porsche Sprint Challenge, get that underway, it's going to be Cecilia Rebelo, who in only her second start in Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil, will take residence position. It couldn't be more of a pressure cooker for her if she'd asked it to be. But after her pace yesterday, she should have a good battle with Caio Castro down to the first corner. Then Leonardo Herman, Matias Roque, Mario Dallara, Caio Chaves, Gerson Campos and Sadak Laita will be giving plenty of opposition and challenge down to that first corner. And so it's going to be an interesting one right from the outset. Once again, it's the top 7 drivers will be reversed. Here's what happened in yesterday's first encounter. This is the difference 24 hours makes, as you can rightfully see for yourself. In the Porsche Carrera Cup yesterday, we had a bone-dry sky blue circuit, and we had chaos and drama from the outset. It was a very tough race. The abrasive surface and the aggressive nature of the race meant we had all sorts of incidents through the course of yesterday's encounter. Not just great battles off the starting line, but several duels. Luc Salas going wheel-to-wheel with last year's champion Marcel Muller down to the first corner. And right from the word go, there were plenty of exciting battles out on the circuit. Lots of drivers trying to charge their way back, particularly the likes of Miguel Peludo and Antonella Bassani, who is making her Porsche Carrera Cup debut this weekend, having won the Sprint Challenge in 2023 and been vice champion of the Sprint Challenge in 2024. It didn't take long for the badinage to kick-start in the Carrera Cup race of the season. There are a lot of good battles on the opening tour, but several drivers were already up for a bit of a scrap, and we saw all sorts of chaos and pandemonium that would greet us through the course of the race battle. The first drivers to really come a cropper would actually be big names, as first Thiago got his move on the inside of Luc Salas to take position, and then a little bit of a love tap from the winning F4 Brazil champion. On his rookie debut, he did a fantastic job. As the only rookie in the field in Porsche Carrera Cup, he has done an absolute job to move his way further forward. But then the troubles began for a few drivers in the field. The first one triggered by this rather clumsy mistake from Marcos Regadas into the side of him. And that was just for starters. We had more problems as Nelson Monteiro to tangle with the 14. Francisco Horta tangled in the back of that particular car as well. There was very little that Carlos Campos could do to avoid it. Vanier Pontes picked up the first of several punctures, retiring his car from the race. But the next one would be a very dramatic puncture indeed. It would come to the race leader, Marcel Muller, leading comfortably in front of Christian, but a puncture threw him out of the race and out of the lead. A championship campaign retaliation that should have started maximum 8 points, ended up with no points at all. A very dramatic start to the reigning champions season, as Marcel Muller would limp back to the pits, but sadly, too much damage to the right rear, and his race and weekend, certainly in the challenge for victory, pretty much over. Got a chance in race 2. We'll have to start that race from 29th out of 32 cars. But there was more drama to come. The person to suffer a major puncture. Thiago Vavac would want to join the list, but a little bit of an incident between Marcani and Luis Souza, which eventually gave Edu it. Vavac will become the last driver to gain his big for a major puncture. The safety car would be deployed. Be pretty much all she wrote, other than the one-lap dash that allowed Christian Hahn the chance to lose the race. He was certainly not going to lose it once he had it in the bag. He came through for the fantastic fashion after leading the one-lap dash. Matias Camarato the whole front of Lucas Salas, while Luno Perez moment clear on the inside of Alcy Feldman. But as everybody dashed their way back to the line, it was clear that the victory was only going to go one person's way. Game over at the end of the field for the number 26. That was the car belonging to Mello, I do believe. But the victory would be nailed to the mast for an excellent display, to take full advantage of the situation with drivers around him. He kept his car clean, and Christian Hahn would take the victory in front of the F4 Brazilian champion, Barato, with Lucas Salas somehow managing to hold off chasing pack in third position. Dramatic as it was nail-biting, but Christian Hahn opened to take his 5th career victory in the Carrera Cup of Brazil. And such a commanding display, it's hard to know if he'll ever get the chance to look back. Come through for the victory in the sport category to open his campaign in the best possible manner. And Leonardo Sanchez would take home a fascinating victory in the rookie class. Very exciting start to the season for all individual class winners. None of them would expect 24 later to find the circuit an absolute ocean that's neat play to the start of proceedings, as we should have got underway. Out to go. But Leonardo Sanchez very happy to start his Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil campaign with a victory in the rookie category for a very tough race. His opposite. Not a massive amount to take there. The joy fairly obvious for Leonardo Sanchez, and a great result for the drivers around. But Christian puts him to the top of the table in a championship campaign where he could be Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil champion for time. Results for Linu Perez and Leonardo Sanchez as they pick up their class victories. Still a lot of work to do here at Velocitta, provided that the rain stays away long enough for us to go racing. But Leonardo Sanchez certainly started his weekend the way he wanted to, with a euphoric victory. And hopefully there'll be more opportunities to see him smile of the 2025 campaign. All that was left of yesterday was the celebrations. If they just walk outside for 5 minutes, get just as wet as they would have on that podium champagne celebration. It was a great battle too in the Porsche Sprint Challenge race, as we saw Leonardo Herrmann battle away to the first corner with Geração Campos. A great duel for the first corner, but it wouldn't take long for things to unfold. The battle to the first corner was always going to be a treacherous one, but with fewer cars in Sprint Challenge than there are in Carrera Cup, surely there were going to be fewer incidents. Nothing like, if anything, more chaos than there was in the Carrera Cup race. Right from the start, both Leonardo Herrmann and Geração Campos would run wide and take patronage from the others around them. And that would put Lucas Locatelli into the initial lead of the race. As everybody else battled for position, it was then about trying to assert yourself in the early stages, trying to stay out of trouble and hope that you weren't going to make contact with other drivers. Mind you, that didn't last long. Into the first couple of, there was already a couple of cheeky battles further back. Leonardo Herrmann sized up the situation, made his bid on Locatelli, and as the leader ran wide, Leonardo Herrmann got on the gas fractionally quicker and picked up the lead at the end of the opening lap. With Leonardo Herrmann back in front, you would think that it would be plain sailing for him, peer into the distance and go and control the race victory. But there would be other outside factors that would make that particularly tricky. Caio Chavez would make a fantastic comeback. He would then duel wheel to wheel with Locatelli. As further back, Matheus Roque went to task with the 77 of Mario Dallara. But there would be problems for Locatelli spinning away after what had originally been the lead of the, and he would be just the first of the many casualties that would fall of the Velocitta circuit. Down the main straight, there would be several battles to come. One of the first to really kick on a pace was the treble four, Marquinhos Marquez, who found himself in all sorts of lots of Cecilio de Bello would get into a very tight battle with Castro, and ironically, they'll now go off the front row of the grid if race 2 happens today. A great duel from Castro, clearly up in 2025. Leonardo Herrmann fell to the pressure of Geração Campos. It was looking sweet and rosy. Back end overtook the front, and Leonardo Herrmann threw away an almost certain run at victory. All it takes is a little bit of run on the marbles, and Leonardo Herrmann had spun his Porsche. Much to the joy and relief of Geração Campos. There were more problems as Marquinhos Marquez would tangle with Jose Moranito. drivers would end up their Porsches in pieces at the side of the road. And that would be enough to throw the safety car into proceedings and bring out the conclusion of the race. Geração would tiptoe his way round behind the safety car, with Caio Chaves in second and Mario Dallara in a brave third place. And with the time having ticked down to zero, the flag would come out to bring the drivers home after a very exciting race. But it would be Geração Campos who would take the checkered flag in front of Caio Chaves and Mario Dallara. So just by staying calm and staying patient, the first Sprint Challenge victory of the 2020 season went the way of Geração Campos. A fantastic start to his 2025 campaign. Joy and jubilation for the team and a fantastic start to the season for Geração Campos. There will be more great victories around the course as Mario Dallara picked up the victory in the sport category. Not a bad effort from him, and considering that he also finished third overall in the first race of the season, he could be very happy with the way it all transpired. A convincing victory to start his 2025 campaign, and there could be many more. There was also a tasty battle behind them in the rookie camp, but it was always going to be a very, very tough battle, one that was essentially clinched by Daniel Newman after a weekend-long battle to try and maintain his position at the sharp end, a very competitive field. But Daniel Newman, having just missed out on qualifying, fought back valiantly and got the job done in the first Sprint Challenge race of the season. So no big surprises. There were three very happy drivers at the end, very enduring. Geração Campos taking the victory overall and grabbing the first Sprint Challenge race win of the season. A good effort too from Mario Dallara, who really proved his worth in front of Matheus Roque and Cecilia Rebello in the top three in sport. And Daniel Newman showed his flair in Sprint Challenge for the first race of the season. Fresh out of trophy, he's already a winner in Rookie Sprint Challenge. Could he make it 2 out of 2 today? Well, looking at the rain conditions that we've got here on the circuit, it's still up in the air as to whether we've got any racing in us at all today, considering that the race itself should have started 10 minutes ago. There's a very good question as to whether or not we will be able to go racing at all. Do stay with us. We'll be back in a couple of minutes' time to try and ascertain the situation. If we have any further updates and any news for you as to whether we are racing again later in the day, whether we are racing in 2 weeks' time at Velocitta once more, we will keep you posted and let you know exactly how it's going to fare. So from Jack Stanton in the commentary box, stick around, but we will be back shortly to keep you updated with circumstances as they currently stand.
Terceiro, viu? Só valeu,
Cuenta corazón. Well, for those of you who have tuned into Motorsport TV and our coverage of the Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil and Sprint Challenge Brazil, hoping for some action, well, we're hoping for exactly the same thing. I'm Jake Sand in the comments here, overlooking the Autódromo Velocitta circuit, and at the moment, your guess is as good as ours. 24 hours has made quite a bit of difference to the weather conditions here at Velocitta. Very heavy rain has been over the circuit for the last couple of hours, and it makes the circuit very treacherous indeed in wet conditions. This is a tough race circuit. Get right in the dry, as our race highlights from yesterday's opening two encounters of the two classes will certainly have demonstrated. For this, for the entirety of waiting patiently for some action, you may all have seen the Sprint Trophy highlights from their one single race that they have each round of the championship. Carloni was the one who took the victory in that race in front of Lucas Luco, Sergio Laurentiis, and the ex-Red Bull athlete and Olympic skateboarder Letizia Buffoni in the top five. And in the sport category, of course, that meant that Lucas Luco was the one who took the victory. Umbelino, Adriano Valverde, Gabriel Guper, and Gustavo Costa. So that is the order of the proceedings from the trophy. You may also have just seen the rather horrendous accident that we had for Everton Cardoso in qualifying for the Sprint Challenge. I have actually spoken with him. He is perfectly okay. He's a little bit, but it was very clear that with a very ferocious accident of that kind, on doctor's requests, told not to take any further part in the race weekend. So we will see Everton Cardoso back, hopefully 2 weeks from now, back at the Velocitta circuit. We will get to have another try this weekend. But weather has improved. It's a lot less heavy than it was about 20 minutes ago. It's still fair to say that there's a heck of a lot of standing water around the course. On the safety car's last reconnaissance lap, there are about 3 patches of water standing on the circuit where the safety car is aquaplaning and skating off the circuit on his up. So coupled with that, looking at the skies and looking at the fact that I'm currently tuned into Antonella Bassani's live Instagram feed. She's gone live on Instagram to chat to her fans while we're obviously supposed to be heading to the starting grid. All of those factors together, coupled, means I don't really see any major sense of urgency for anybody to get this right. So that it could well be ruled that there's just too much standing water around the circuit, even if the standing water in these cars with the flat six engine, their aquaplaning propensity is massive in these cars. So they obviously have to try and take as cared and as measured a decision as possible. You've got to remember as well, the Carrera Cup Brazil and the Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil, you've got a lot of racing drivers in this field who will be going, they want to make sure they're back in the boardroom and they're still boardroom member. They want to make sure that they are still tickety-boo to go to work tomorrow, particularly for the likes of Edu Guedes, who is the Gordon Ramsay of Brazil. No doubt he's got more television work to start filming tomorrow. So the drivers are obviously wanting to race if it's safe to, but if it's not safe to, they're not going to risk anything that they don't have to. So we are currently sat here in the pit lane at the Autódromo Velocitta, just waiting for a decision to be made as to whether or not we're racing this time or whether we're racing 2 weeks from now. There is some activity in the pit lane, and there's certainly now people walking around pit lane rather than hiding in garages, and the sun is trying to poke out through the clouds. So we'll give it just a few more minutes. We'll wait to see if there's been an official assessment. The safety car parade around the circuit made it very clear that racing couldn't happen anytime soon. But this is Brazil. When the sun comes out, it does dry out very quickly here. So we have to, and bear in mind what the situation is. We don't currently know whether we'll be racing or not, although that rain cloud in the distance tells us that there could well be more rain coming rather than leaving us. We had a couple of drivers venture out onto the circuit just to get a bit of an understanding as to how much standing water there currently is out on the circuit. Now, I'm fairly sure these are live pictures at the moment. This is one of the reconnaissance drivers that Porsche has on standby to help assess the situations. This is just to try and see how much standing water there actually is on the circuit. And they'll start by sending out one of the spare drivers, one of the driver coaches, one of these support drivers, out onto the circuit in this car, on this circuit, on a car very similar to the one that will be asked to go racing in a few short minutes' time if they get the all clear. And that is the safest possible way to assess the situation, is in the safety car, because the safety car won't run at race. You need to put a flat six Porsche there at full race chat with a driver who knows what they're doing and try and assess the situation for how much water there currently is on the circuit and how quickly it would drain away. But certainly we are very much in uncertain times at the moment. I can tell you for a fact that Montani has actually stood at the sidelines waiting to see how much spray comes off this car as it goes by, and it's reconnaissance that. So every driver down the pit lane will probably be looking for a decent vantage point as this car is a wicket, because it's the only usable data they currently have going into this second race of the season. So for the time being, it's tough to know what the situation is and whether circumstances will favour the brave or favour the cautious. We will have to find out, but do stay with us here on Motorsport TV. We'll take another couple of minutes away. Officials are trying to get what is happening. It's actually Seba Malucelli, we're told, that is out on the course. Although I don't know whether that's accurate or not. It could just be the graphics team trying to make sure that they're ready for Seba Malucelli out there in pole position. But certainly they've got spare drivers in these conditions to try and assess what the situation is. So stick around and we will try and get an answer for you as soon as possible.
Entendi, mas eu acho que umas voltas vai...
Parou de chover.
Vamos ver quanto.
Well, hello again, folks. If you've been waiting for news about whether we're going to go racing in the Porsche Brazil and Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil, or the Autódromo Velocitta after the heavy showers that have hit the circuit, the last few pictures that you will have watched if you've been waiting patiently with bated breath, hoping that the race will go ahead, may have given you confidence. Drivers starting to put race suits and helmets on. Antonella Bassani has now stopped her live Instagram feed because the word that we have been given is that the race will go ahead. So we are going to be racing here today for both the Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil and Sprint Challenge Brazil. The cars will be hitting the circuit in a little under 5 minutes time, and they will form up on the starting grid as they normally would. We are going to be running, of course, about an hour on schedule. But then obviously the cars are all in position. The 5 minute will go up when it's ready to, and then we will be able to get started with the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil race. And then straight after that, of course, we will continue into the Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil race. That means that we're going to get to see both Seba Malucelli and Cecilia Rebelo line up in pole position for their two respective races. The cars have gone around a station, realised that with the rain stopped and the wind high, the water will drain relatively quickly around the circuit in these temperatures. So it has been assessed that the conditions have improved enough that it is certainly giving the Porsche Carrera Cup driver the chance to go racing first, which is the plan anyway. And of course, if there's no more rain, then the cars push a fair amount of the surface water off the race circuit. What it means for us, though, is that your patience has been well and truly rewarded, folks. Jake Sanson here, and the drivers are venturing out onto the circuit to get their first reconnaissance laps in these conditions. It's unclear yet as to whether the race will start behind a safety car or whether it will be the traditional rolling start that we are used to. That could be the body language of many race fans at the end of this, considering how the track conditions have changed dramatically in the last 24 hours. It was both dry and sunny yesterday. Now, as you can see, it's a lot cooler. It's damp and wet in the pit lane, but it's been very wet out on the circuit. But we've got a lot of spectators who want to see some racing, a lot of drivers who want to go racing. And just because it's raining, that doesn't mean it stops the race play. It delays it while we're trying to assess the situation and hopefully get it to a situation where the drivers can race. Do seem to have reached that point. So, for those of you who've been sat waiting and hoping that we're going to get some racing, good news. We'll get the race. We'll start with the Porsche Carrera Cup of Brazil. The drivers will form up on the grid, and then as soon as their podium ceremony is concluded, the Sprint Challenge drivers will venture out for their formation laps. It is business as usual here with the Autódromo Velocitta. So, I prepare for the race battles. You'll watch the pit drivers head to the circuit, and we will be getting underway in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil very soon indeed. Well done for waiting, and you will get your chance to watch the slipping and the sliding around the Velocitta circuit for the second race of the year and the 286th sprint race start in Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil.
A gente está preparando rapidinho, não podemos deixar de falar do Vagnão, né? A gente tinha preparado uma homenagem, já sobe a placa de 5 minutos. Nesse momento, sobe a placa de 5 minutos, começa a liberação do kit. A gente tinha preparado uma homenagem bacana para o Vagnão, mas com essa mudança toda que aconteceu, mesmo assim a gente não pode deixar de fazer a nossa homenagem ao nosso grande companheiro que nos deixou no acidente de morte, o Vagnão. Um abraço para a família que está aí acompanhando. E tenho certeza que todos vocês são companheiros e seguidores constantes por muito tempo que o Vagnão estão sentindo falta nesse momento, mas ele está lá em cima resolvendo e vai acompanhar essa categoria que nós vamos fazer para ele. Valeu, Vagnão! Vamos lá, vamos continuar por aqui. Placa de 5 minutos ao alto, liberem o grid. Atenção, mecânicos, comece a liberação do grid, já estamos em 5 minutos. Repito, faremos um ponto rápido da nacionalização. Vem comigo, placa de 5 minutos ao alto. Ótimo, vamos lá, nacionalização. Vem comigo, vamos lá. Liberem o grid. Atenção, atenção, atenção. Liberação do grid, galera.
Well, folks, I'm delighted to say that we are now getting ourselves ready for the second race of the weekend in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil and Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil. Jake Stanton here in the commentary box here for Motorsport TV. It took a little bit longer than we were expecting it to, but after about 50 minutes, we are now ready to get ourselves into race conditions here at the Velocitta. The weather definitely took its toll on the circuit for the last hour or so, but now after drivers have done reconnaissance laps and the safety teams have been around the course, it's going to be a good race that we have in front of us now as the drivers are in position. So let's try and figure out what the situation scenario is going to be. We figure out if Sébastien Loeb can convert his reverse grid pole position into a victory. The man who is actually most favoured now to get that race win is Miguel Paludo, who lines up third on the starting grid behind Sébastien Condes. If Miguel Paludo were to take the victory in this race, by the way, he would win his 40th career victory in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil. 4 wins out of the 286 races that have ever taken place in the championship. That is very nearly 1 in 6, which is quite an incredible achievement. And if Miguel Paludo does victory, he will be the most successful driver of his victories in the history of the championship. We could well see a bit of a legacy today. Miguel Paludo is already one of the most successful drivers in history, jointly topping the win table. But he would actually dearly love to be the man to take over possession record 8. That would be what he'd really like to do. So certainly for the time being, he's got himself into a very exciting position here late. He wants to be in a good position to try and race victory. But it will be a really exciting battle from the outset. I'm sure we're going to get a really close battle as the drivers now head out onto the circuit, and they will be behind the safety car. So they will do their reconnaissance laps of the course. It's going to be a very different race yesterday. The heat and the sunshine created all sorts of drama, and bash. Well, we don't need any of that. Now we've rain to throw a spanner into the work, which we could well get several times through the course of this race. So the reverse grid has ended up with the top 7 drivers being reversed from the results of yesterday's race to give us our starting lineup. So here is the grid in full. It is Seba Malucelli in pole position alongside Nelson Marcondes, an all-sport class front row. Miguel Paludo stands on the edge of history. He wins this race. He becomes a 40-time winner in Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil. Lino Perez in 4th place on the grid. He won the sport class yesterday. From the second row of the grid, he could do it again. Lucas Salas lands up alongside Matias Camparato. They were in the top 3 in yesterday's open race, but the man who won that starts 7th. Christian Hahn lines up in position alongside Israel Salmon, who goes off 8th position from the grid. Antonelli did well yesterday to go from 20th to 9th. That starts alongside Nelson Monteiro, P10. 11th on the grid for the rookie winner yesterday, Leonardo Sanchez, who lines up alongside Yusimar Junior in the number 27. 7th row of the grid for Gustavo Janon. He lines up alongside the very talented Carlos Campos, who is the competitor not only in sport, but also in the Masters category. Let's see if he can make it. The Jolly Roger, number 77, driven by Francisco Horta, lines up 15th on the starting grid alongside Miguel Mariotti, last year's Sprint Challenge champion, now stepping up into Carrera Cup in 2025. Silvio Moni also worked his way up from the lower divisions last year. He lines up alongside Brazil's answer to Gordon Ramsay, Edu Guedes, lining up 18th on the grid. Saga was one of the many drivers who got lifted on lines. He got a second position out from a puncture. He goes 19th on the Pisani, who also ended up with difficulties yesterday. He's going to be recovering. As to Will Rodrigo Melo and Marco Billy, 2 drivers who have definitely got a lot of work to do to recover. Next up on the grid, on the 12th row of the grid, it is Flavio Chapao, who lines up alongside Alci Feldman, who got a penalty in yesterday's race and dropped all the way back to 24th and the last runner on the road. Marcos Regadas was one of the many retirements in the race. He lines up alongside the next man in, Bruno Campos, who goes off P26 from the starting grid. Next up on the 14th row, it'll be Paulo Souza, who ended up spinning out of the race, along with Christian Moore, yet another who stepped up out of the Sprint Challenge into Carrera Cup this year. The reigning champion, Marcel Muller, was leading when he picked up his punt. He dropped out of the race. He starts 29th to try and recover some points. Simkovic is going to go off from 30th on the grid. Rania Pontes, also Felmanito, picked up the first, and he drops out of the race in the first encounter to line up 32nd on the grid this time. So with big names out of position, a lot of drivers not really knowing this circuit very well in the wet conditions. This being the Porsche Brazil, is having a lot of opportunities forward. Be a really exciting start to the race. So we have obviously started behind the safety car. The competitors having geared themselves up ready initial off, but now they are there once again. Ready in close proximity. And they are hoping for another exciting battle out on the circuit. Miguel Paludo runs 3rd position on this start. And he tucked up behind Malucelli and Marcondes, the leaders in the battle. We're going to get to see just how well this race will start for them. Malucelli is now bunching up the field as we get ourselves ready to go racing for the second time this weekend. Time in 2025. Malucelli brings the field around. The power slide and the back end almost comes out as we go green here at Autódromo Velocitta. Miguel Paludo is anytime trying to make the move on Marcondes already. So he gets in a second position. No worries at all for Miguel Paludo. His superior intellect and incredible vast knowledge puts him into 2nd place in front of Marcondes, almost before Marcondes has even finished contemplating getting into the 1st corner. So Paludo will now chase down the Malucelli as they climb up the crest. A few drivers to really find the limits of these Porsches. That's going to be a move on Lino Perez from Christian Hahn, who's already worked his way past Matias Camparato. So Christian Hahn trying to get himself into a race inside. That That is the hard-charging 51 car of Israel Salman. And Paludo goes for the lead. Well, that didn't take long at all. So Miguel Paludo gets himself into the lead on the opening lap. And now that he's there, it's almost certain that Miguel Paludo is not going to lose this race. On pure contention from the others. He's going to be win number 40 if he keeps this together. So Miguel Paludo having a really solid race of things at the moment. And a really exciting duel as the contenders continue to push forward. But Paludo is your race leader on this opening lap. The win be this already if Miguel Paludo has his way. Still some battles further back though. That's Nuno Perez and Matias Camparato with Israel Salman trying to get on terms with Matias Camparato. Certainly we've had a clean first lap. That's Marcel Muller working his way through the pack as well. He's already made up about 6th place. So some good performances already from Marcel Muller, but Paludo leads. Malucelli second. Here comes Camparato. So clear inside of Nuno Perez. That's P6 for the F4 Brazil champion of last year. So a very solid effort and good determination out as Christian Hahn gets on the curve, but it's enough to get him on the inside line. And he manages to get ahead of Nelson Marcondes as well. So Paludo leads. Malucelli second. Lucas Salas is third. Christian Hahn is now fourth in front of Marcondes. Then Pires behind Camparato. Then Salman, Bassani, Monteiro, Junior, Janon, Campos and Leo Sanchez. So the drivers go up the hill. Camparato leaving it very late, but what a move he makes. Camparato dives at the inside and gets the side-by-side that he wanted. But Nelson Marcondes. Marcondes is fighting back though. Down to the drop into the breeze, and Camparato pulls across on Marcondes. But has he been able to get through the S's? Yes, he has. So very well pitched there by Matias Camparato. The big names in Carrera are already trying to flash their way past the sport and rookie drivers in these classes. The wet weather can sometimes actually benefit a slower driver than the Carrera Cup drivers because they've got a little bit more time to think. They've got a little more time to process what's happening in each of these corners. But certainly for the time being, at least, it is a great charge from Miguel Paludo, who leads from Malucelli, Salas, Hahn, Camparato, Marcondes, Pires, Salman and Antonello Bassani as up the inside. There comes the move from Israel Salman. Gets through Nuno Perez, but Perez is going to try and get him struck back again. Got to be careful with these switchbacks here at Velocitta. But Perez has the inside line. Salman is determined. He's not going to concede the position. His nerve and completes the move of Nuno Perez. Up the crest they go. Some good efforts from the drivers here. They really do know how to get the most of these cars when they're chipped down and the backs are to the wall. For a lot of drivers in the field stepping out of Sprint Challenge or Trophy, they will never have had a 6 car as powerful as this to race in their native Brazil. Certainly having a very solid and smooth. There's Marcel Muller. Now, where is Marcel Muller in the grand scheme of things? Well, I cannot quite believe this, but Marcel Muller is in 20th already. Make that 19th if he manages to work his way around the outside of Rodrigo Melo. He's got to wait for his moment as Marcel Muller. And when he considered he started 29th, this is excellent going from Marcel Muller. All made up 9 places. We're on board with it. Round the outside of Melo. Well, you can certainly utilize different driving lines in wet conditions. And that is exactly how Marcel has worked his way up into P19. 20 minutes to go. So certainly some intriguing race battles carrying off at the moment. Marcel Muller having got ahead of Rodrigo Melo. Now he's going to size up the opposition for the man in front of him. And that is Silvio Monostoni, who's going to be the next target for Muller. But he's got a bit of work to do. The Hero Blaze, as we've now got a little bit of fog creeping over the circuit. They've got to be very careful of this. Need to see where you're going. Matias Camparato pulling clear of Christian Hahn. The drivers are actually being very mature on the circumstances. They're not overdriving these cars at all. They're just trying to get the best of them in these conditions. But Camparato actually has the fastest lap of the race at the moment. He's trying to close up on Stefano Malucelli and Lucas Salas. Christian Hahn having already got ahead of these two. So in the lead with a clear track in front of him, and Lucas Salas is going to get the Malucelli. Nicely done. I don't know well has lost ground to Matthias Camparato. So that's Christian Hahn in the background, I do believe. A very unusual place for Christian Hahn to find himself. So Salas is now second ahead of Malucelli, who is still looking very good for a win in the next category down, the sport category. So Seba Malucelli just trying to calm his nerves. So let's see if he can continue this intimidating form. As up the inside, Camparato finishes the job on the 100 car of Seba Malucelli. And now it looks to me as though Christian Hahn is going to get his run on the leading driver as well. So up the inside, Christian Hahn, no worries. Gets the overtaking move. And Malucelli in the 100% car just has to find that little bit extra to keep the car moving. We're on board with Malucelli. Let's listen in. It's not. Marcel Muller running in front of Rodrigo Melo. And then Lino Perez. Lino Perez has spun in the middle of the field. He manages to get the car going, but he has to pull off onto the grass. And that is never going to be a good idea in these torrential conditions. It's a huge puddle. Desperately tries to get back on the circuit. And he's going to right in the path of Daniel Pontes. Well, he was very lucky there, Lino Perez. Manages to recover the car, but going off onto the grass, definitely not a good idea in these conditions. You're going to destroy the car's tyres. You're going to get a lot of overheating as well. Potential. So Lino Perez spins the car. I want the drivers to spin it first. I don't think I'd have put Lino Perez's name up at the top of that list, to be honest. It's another Bassani. He currently duels away with Israel Salmet. And there is Francisco Horta in the Jolly Roger. And there's Marcel Muller. So Marcel Muller has now worked his way in front of Silvio Modestoni, and that's good enough for P16. Definitely getting the work done from 29th on the grid. So we're going to say, I've got a feeling this is going to be Marcel Muller making progress. Oh, no, it's not. It's Rodrigo Melo skating straight behind him. Hits the barrier, but not particularly hard. So Rodrigo Melo is able to carry on. But I'm afraid Rodrigo Melo has now fallen to the very back of the field. I have to say, I'm actually impressed that more drivers haven't flown off the road. So there is Lucas Salas, Matthias Camparato, and in fifth place on. We're having a magical race at the moment. Putting on a great spectacle. But it isn't easy to see how it's all going to progress. Matthias Camparato, a very late bit on the inside of Lucas Salas and gets the overtake. Salas is trying to come back at him. Camparato is adamant. I know how to get this move finished off. But Lucas Salas is going to be the inside line for the next corner. So who's going to win the drag race? Well, Salas bails out of it. Christian Hahn may get a run around the outside in the S's, and he has to go to avoid contact with Lucas Salas. He's not going to be very with the way that ended, but all's fair in love and war. Matthias Camparato, position for the youngster. Straight in at the deep end of this championship challenge. He's putting himself up at the front. Excellent work thus far. I'll make it how good an impression Christian Hahn can now make down the main straight. And it's staggering to think, isn't it, that the race leader has already gone. He's just disappeared into the distance. So still, the drivers close together as they get ready to climb the hill. Up over the top of the crest, Marcel Muller has continued his progress and now finds himself in 15th. His next target is that man Gustavo Janon. On board with Muller. Sounding pretty perfect at the moment. So Marcel Muller's got to try and take on the move. Oh, and the door is just wide open as Gustavo Janon isn't quite sure whether he'll commit to the moves. Just rolls over and lets him have it. And that's a spin A spinner at turn one. Now, trying to figure out who that is that's gone. One of the more red in 16. Oh, it's Alcivel Manito. It's Lightning McQueen. The Brazilian Alcivel Manito. The Brazilian Lightning McQueen has gone off. Two cars running. Alcivel Manito goes off on the gas, tries to keep his foot in, gets a bow wave, rookie error, spins the car. All of that comes down to instinct and feel, as well as a little bit of handling as well. So that's something that clearly, if none of those alternatives are correct, then it's almost certainly going to reflect very badly indeed on his team leader to move forward. Right, now we've got Paludo in the lead. Second place for Camperato. And still this duel between Lucas Salas and Christian Hart. Having an entertaining tussle for third position. Just following in the footsteps of the man in front of him. This could be a very lucrative overtake. If Lucas Salas doesn't cause him too much resistance, he's going to try and run it the right way round the outside. It's not going to be an easy task. It's certainly not going to be much of a... But certainly everybody is looking so calm after a very treacherous race. I think there's quite a few teams who will go into this one and try and figure out where the other cars are losing compared to them. It's none of that going to matter to most of these competitors. As round the outside, Christian Hahn thinking the impossible move. No wonder it's possible. That's why he tried it. Christian Hahn round the outside of Lucas Salas in one of the most daring overtakes you'll see around this circuit. In out there is Marco Pisani going around at turn one. So everybody just trying to be delicate on the throttle, trying to tiptoe around and not throw these things away. So Marani joins the repeats list. So now we're going to get to see a very tough mission for the competitors to try and make progress here. Camperato through cleanly in second place, the only driver really to handle the candle to Miguel Paludo. 11.5 minutes on the clock. And certainly a bit of history could be made tonight as the field crosses that line. Up on the inside line though, Francisco Horta decides he wants to get a move on Nelson Montero. Thanks, buddy. I'll happily have that. Very nicely done indeed. Now, who's going to make the blink? Marcel Muller currently looking fairly confident, but there's still a long way to go. He's got a lot of ground to recover from. Well, that was a nice little cheeky maneuver from the car just directly in front of us. Getting a very solid overtaking move done there. As I think it was Marcel Muller being accompanied around the circuit by the green machine. Marcel Muller's now going to turn rogue. Thanks for sorting me out, correcting me. I'm ready for the Chinese Grand Prix now. Well, the battle continues all the way through the S's. A big slide. The wet conditions continue to catch out these drivers. If these flat six engines, 510 brake force, we're going to see Marcel Muller making his bid and diving through on the inside line. Gets a perfect overtake on Miguel Mariotti. Tricky conditions too, so this is good stuff from Marcel Muller, the reigning champion. Now just up the road from them, we've got a side-by-side. That's Francisco Horta battling away there. Opposition up to the outside line. And Francisco Horta gets the move done on Yosemar Junior. So Francisco Horta gets place one. And that is for 10. Marcel Muller is right behind both of them, currently P12. He's worked his way through the relatively easy guys. Now it's going to be tricky from here on out. Up the hill. On board with Marcel, listen in. to the reigning champion. Every time I say that, we switch away from it. So I'm just going to take it as read that we're not going to get a chance. So Marcel Muller. And trying to make a dive on the inside line. It's a little bit of a late decision from the man in 11th position. That, of course, is what it was. Francisco Horta, but no longer. So Marcel Muller makes another big leap on the inside line. And this time that is Marcel Muller extending his invitation to try and have another crack at him with open arms. But it really hasn't worked out. Oh, that's a crash. Now that is a spinner there. The 21 has gone around. That is Mariotti. Now if he's stranded there, that's going to be a safety car. But even just the fact that we're no longer on a wet circuit, we're now on a greasy circuit. Well, thank goodness for that. The recovery is given then to the 21, Miguel Mariotti, of his own accord. He doesn't have to hire anybody else to. Still a really good challenge from Miguel Paludo, but the only man who goes to him is Matias Camparato. Look in the background. There is Camparato. F4 Brazil champion last year. Real talent to step into Porsche Carrera Cup as a rookie. The only true rookie in the field. There are others in the rookie class, but that has connotations of experience, training levels, even age. But fantastic stuff for the other contenders to really get an understanding as to how these things work out. Now the straight again. As into the apex, Seba Malucelli is just trying his best to shake off his interloper, and that is Nelson Marcondes. Or still swinging around trying to get things right, but he may just have one here. Seba Malucelli, the original pole sitter, struggling to hold on to it. So the cars are running fairly well in the top 6 at the moment. Efforts and some good performances, but it is going full guns blazing at this moment in time. So once again, that run to the first corner, ever critical. Still, this battle between the two will not cease. Francisco Horta gets his run on the inside line and manages to make his own overtaking move. So an excellent display there. And that is the battle going on further down the field. Marcel Muller gets his work up on the inside line. After the cars in front to do anything about it. 6 minutes to go in a race that I genuinely thought we were going to see a couple of safety cars in. So far, we haven't even had one. And the outside. A good run this to redeem himself a little bit. Marcel Muller making yet another big launch. This time it's on the side of Antonella Bassani. And he gets through without incident. Now Marcel Muller well into the points paying positions. Let's see what else he can bring from this now. Muller trying to make his dive on the inside of Francisco Horta. Well, that'll do. That's yet another position I've made up in the stint of the race. This is absolutely fantastic. It's almost like watching a video game player at work. So in through the S's, and Marcel has now got ahead of Francisco Horta. Like how everything was going to get you. But this sport really does grab you by the throat and find some spectacular racing drivers. Some that had the chance to be in W Series or F1 Academy or one of those things and still make good progress. I am, of course, referring to the likes of Antonella and Cecilia Rebelo. Diving up on the inside line, that is Gustavo Janon. So Gustavo Janon is currently dueling away. And that's going to be a loss of position there, very sadly, to the, I want to call it the battle that it is at the moment. And these two are very, very tightly clipped together. Two very close as well. Up the crest one more time comes Gustavo Zanon, trying to hang on to the... Has to find a way to keep pushing and keep staying motivated. Just under 4 minutes left of time. But then, of course, one time stick down, they cross the line, and they've got one more lap to find. Montague has a think about it on the inside line. So still good duels on this circuit. Everywhere you look, every which way for the Autodromo Velocitta. As Elsie Feldman is now going to try and take on Marcos Regadas. Two feisty individuals there. Not a bad run from Elsie Feldman to work his way up into 13th place at this late stage of the encounter. Might still get a point or two. So watch out for that fantastic competitor. Running well. Down to the braking zone for the hairpin. A bit of a challenge now from Tom Speed. Elsie Feldman trying to get through on the inside line. And everywhere you look, there's delicacy and artistry needed as much there is strength. So far, every single one of the drivers has been able to find it relatively straight going. Now looking at the lap times, this is great news for on the back straight. The final couple of laps of racing here at Velocitta. And have we got enough people to run out of superlatives for these boys, as it looks like there's been a change of position once again. Marcel Muller has worked his way forward from 29th on his 9th ahead of Francisco Horta and Marcos Regadas. It's a very tough bit of racing at the moment. So once again, through the left, right of the X's. Elsie Feldman fancying his chances to move forward. 1.5 minutes seconds on the board, so he'd better get on with this fast. But it's certainly a very tricky race at the moment for the 17. All sorts of problems for Marcos Regadas already in this race. He certainly couldn't do with any more problems. Is there going to be a move to the first corner? See, on this occasion, Elsie Feldman was a little too far back. Meanwhile, Gustavo Zanon is still going wheel to wheel with any driver that will give him a nudge in the right direction. Zanon trying to keep his foot in. 1 minute to go. And certainly looks as though Miguel Paludo has taken all the cards, thrown them up on the air and caught them in a way that no other driver would ever have been expected to perform. So the final few seconds, Elsie Feldman decides to make his dive on the inside line, and a little bit of a love tap as through goes Marcos Regadas, trying to chase down the tie-dye print effect shirt on the table. Clearly in support of these guys as we move forward through the calendar system. Down the drop. Still time for this all to go away. The timer has run down to 0, but they're going to add another lap the next time they come to the line. Just a tradition. And we are happy to keep that particular one going a little while longer. So Miguel Paludo is having the time of his darndest life out there in the lead. And with this being the second and final end, he knew he was going to have to make this one count if he wanted to get it done as early this week. Still the battles will run, but Christian Hahn is the only one that can get even slightly close to Miguel Paludo in terms of one lap pace. Interestingly, Matthias Comparato in third position has gone and is definitely looking for a decent opportunistic moment or two. There's Christian Hahn trying to say he's closed up in very unusual. Christian Hahn has certainly been trying to chase down Miguel Paludo throughout the course of this race, but it's certainly not going to end in his favour now. As out of the final turn, there glass that board for Miguel Paludo. He is just one lap away from history in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil. He will stand on the top spot of the statistics of race winners. He'll go straight to the top, and it's a fitting enough word that will describe him. So excellent displays from Miguel Paludo. He just needs to bring the car home now. Essentially, he doesn't have to worry too much about anything. So let's go up and finish off this particular part of the chapter for Paludo in what has been an incredibly strong season in 2023. Slight hiccup of the season with 2024. But now it's all going to be about history. History is about to be made. Miguel Paludo, 4 times champion, 2008, 2009, 2020, and 2021. But he is about to step on his own at the top of the winners' table. He will not share his crown any longer. Now he will hold it indubitably, as the final few corners of a very carefully judged race are going to give the man in second position in this race what he asked for. And so for the final time in this race, Miguel Paludo will come out of the final hairpin, and for the 40th time in Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil, the race winner is Miguel Paludo. 40 race wins in his career. Absolutely extraordinary. The greatest ever in terms of race wins. So it's victory and in fine starter for Miguel Paludo in front of Christian Hahn and Matthias Comparato. Lucas Salas was P4. 5th was Thiago Vivacqua. So an absolutely heroic fight back. But it is all about our race victor today. Our race victors in the individual classes can also be quite hilarious. Nelson Marcondes getting the job done in sport category. Actually remains himself in 6th position. So the checkered in magnificent fashion for Miguel Paludo. And there is Silvio Monastoni taking the win in the rookie class. A great start to the season. A phenomenal start to the week. What an amazing turnaround for the books. Miguel Paludo taking his 40th career race victory here this weekend. So we ride on board with man with the plan, who has now got 4 envelopes. Just trying to gauge any form of celebration there from Marcel Muller between him and his team. But I think they're too busy crying their eyes out. A great start to the season for our man on the top spot. So as Miguel Paludo tours in after a very successful race in the damp conditions, the Sprint Challenge drivers will probably be thinking, well, it doesn't look so bad in terms of after all. But this is a very, very special moment for Miguel Paludo as he lifts the trophy on the podium in a few short minutes on the top step for the 40th time. And so after what had always promised to be a really competitive and really exciting edge to this championship, Miguel Paludo has more than demonstrated he can be that person. So with Miguel Paludo certainly having a really solid end of things as they currently stand. But out of the car gets the greatest ever Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil driver. 40 wins in 286 starts. Magnificent. And that's what it means to Miguel Paludo. He no longer shares the crown of the best ever. He holds it on his own and standing out from behind anybody else's shadows. Miguel Paludo, the greatest in the Porsche Carrera Cup of Brazil. But there's also more celebrations down the pit lane. Nelson Marcondes getting his first victory of the season. And for Silvio Modestoni, it's a very impressive performance as well to grab his first rookie race win of the season. So everyone gets to be very happy indeed with their lot there, particularly our race 2 winner, Miguel Paludo, who now has to continue on with the fact that he's not going to be in that top 5, either the sports cars or you manage to get to work. So a hearty congratulations to our coaches up there on the circuit. So the podium ceremony will kickstart very shortly indeed. And once that's over, we'll go straight in to the second race of the week. The second race, I should say. And that is the Sprint Challenge of Brazil. That's where we're going to get to see Cecilio Rebelo line up pole position for the very first time. Incredibly happy man taking the victory in the rookie category. Some people do this for the sheer passion and sheer joy of being able to race. To actually come through for it takes a lot of dedication, commitment, and skill. But there it is. Nelson Marcondes gets the win overall. Miguel Paludo, the winner in Carrera. And Silvio Modestoni, the rookie winner. Excellent performances from the 3 boys we just heard from. Miguel Paludo now stands alone, no shoulders on his back. An excellent display. Third race, third position, just outside his reach. But nonetheless, it is the man we've all been talking about over the course of the weekend, in the course of the build-up event. First of all, it was only ever meant to be on the polished surfaces elsewhere. But there is the podium ceremony with our top 5 drivers looking to enjoy the smokes of champagne as well as the race engine. It'll be one of just many areas where it'll all be sit and wait to be carried out. Dorian Bain looks like she's got the maneuver on 2 drivers. So she gets past. She manages to get past and pick up another position, but very tricky now to see how things are going in terms of their overcraft powers. But it is a terrific result for Miguel Paludo, who takes the victory for the 40th time. A great effort too from Nelson Marcondes, who gets his win in class second. And then the third is Gia Mostroni. But Miguel Paludo, absolutely deserving of the title, the greatest ever. And he certainly loves enjoying on the side of them. So a great performance then from the man in the lead, the man who's reacted to all these weeks. So Miguel Paludo enjoying the spoils of win number 40 in his epic young career. Still, drivers transcend that ridiculous information that we're trying our best not to get sucked into. We're trying our best to stay involved. So Miguel Paludo flashes the lights across the line to take the victory for the 40th time in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil. He goes to the second round of the championship 2 weeks from here, knowing that for quite a long time he is going to be the greatest in Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil history. It's a fairy tale, and I have to say I'd quite like to read that book one day if it ever gets written. Now the top 5 in the sport category, after Miguel Paludo, Chris Aparato, Lucas Salas and Thiago Vivacqua all managed to steal points from yesterday's running. It's also very impressive indeed to see how the 2 countdowns have been particularly low down. Dizzy with the Marcon as he takes the victory here in a rather damp squib of a race circuit by comparison to what we saw a little earlier on. But he can be so happy. It took them 8 years to unlock the winning formula in Grand Prix. And here in Porsche Cup Brazil, it's already been a fantastic duel for the man up front, Miguel Paludo, who now becomes a winner of 40 not out. The longest and most successful motivated runs to keep the things flying run. But also a good performance from this man, Nelson Marcondes. Lost ground, lost positions, but didn't get too panicky or irate. Just let the whole thing happen. And it was wonderful to see Nelson Marcondes working with such an esteemed team. So it was a success, of course, for Miguel Paludo. A success, of course, as well for Nelson Marcondes, who can be very happy with it. But before we get to the Sprint Challenge in Brazil, there is just a matter of rookie class podium. 5 drivers will make their way there. Paulo Sala in P5, Flavio Chimpao in P4. 3rd place for Bruno Campos. 2nd for Leonardo Sanchez. And 3rd place for Silvio Modestoni. So the competitors have finished off in fine style indeed. And so after this, there is only going to be one, and that is the Porsche Sprint Challenge. Certainly going full guns blazing again in flamboyant fashion here at the Autódromo Velocitta. The drivers lift their trophies around him. Paulo Sala, Flavio Chimpao, Bruno Campos, Leonardo Sanchez, but something just so remote about you, Silvio. Silvio Modestoni picking up the victory in fine style. Very, very well taken. So as the celebrations begin to sizzle, Carrera Cup, our attention will go back to the circuit very shortly to prepare for the Porsche Sprint Challenge. And it's going to be Stilio de Bello, who will be in such big danger tomorrow. She goes off P8 of the starting grid. And this is just an unbelievable scenario. But once again, we find ourselves with a very tricky opening race. Everybody just about managing to get through without drama. But our race victors today, Miguel Paludo, now the most successful driver in Porsche Carrera Cup history. 2nd place, a very good run indeed for Charlie Hahn. For Christian Hahn, my apologies. And then in 3rd position, the reigning F4 Brazilian champion, Matheus Camparato. the only true rookie in this entire field. And it really has been a sensational performance. So after another crazy race of Flotsam and Jetsam, now our attention can focus on the sprint challenge. Just one race left this weekend. But for Cecilia Rebelo fans, this is the moment you've been waiting for. Her first ever attempt to try and turn a reverse grid pole into a race victory. Can Cecilia Rebelo use pressure? The likes of Guy Castro, Leonardo Herman, Matias Roque, Mario Dallara, Carlos Chavez, as well as the man in 7th place, Geração Campos. Going to get into their universe to make this all work out.
E o vencedor da categoria Master, Alceu Feldman.
So the Carrera Sport battles out on the course that we saw.
E agora o banho de champanhe da categoria Master.
Whether or not
Parabéns, Ricardo.
somebody from the prominent world of Grand Prix could actually have their reputations counted a little bit. But certainly no Elsa Feldman-Nito for you, young lady. So as we conclude the operations then for the Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil, we've got the Porsche Sprint Challenge race about to get underway with Cecilia Rebelo, Caio Castro, Leonardo Herman and Matias Roque leading the charge at the start of the race. We've just been informed by race control that there will be a half-hour delay to the start of this race. That is due to the fact that leaders in Porsche Sprint Challenge Brasil have been given dispensation to change tyre to slicks. So that is exactly what they're going to do. It's incredible to think that nearly 2 hours ago, we were not even close to considering racing around the Autódromo Velocitta. And now, we're only considering that, we're actually going to remove the wet tyres and change them for dry, slick tyres. So the competitors will be given a chance to do that. You'll be seeing the pictures as they happen out on the screen, but I'll be back in time for the 5-minute board once again for the Porsche Sprint Challenge Brasil. Cecilia Rebelo will go off pole position. Can she convert that into a race victory? I'll have to stick around here on Motorsport TV to find out.
Toda volta mais. Avisando tudo.
Fica junto com ele e vê o que vai fazer. Uma coisa muito tempo, tá falando que quando ele falar tal coisa. Sai.
A primeira prova, lá em sétimo, cadastro de Daniel. Olha, larga na nona posição e luta pela larga no 3 minutos. Placa de 3 minutos.
It's game time in the Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil. Just a few short minutes after victory for the 40th time in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil for Mick Baludo. Now we get to go and rock and roll once again in the Sprint Challenge. It's the second race of the weekend, and it's pressure cooker time for the latest driver to start a race in this paddock from pole position. Cecilia Rebello, following in the footsteps of the Sprint Challenge champion of 2023, Antonella Bassani, is the latest talented female driver to charge her way through to put on a bit of a showcase. And here, for the next 25 minutes plus the additional lap, it's all going to come down to what she can do to hold on to the front end of the grid. And boy, is she going to have a mission on her hands. I'm Jake Sanson. Great to be with you once again here on the Autódromo Velocitta circuit, running quite a long way behind schedule, I'm afraid to say, due to the Toronto that we had an hour before the start of the first race of the day. But that just means that good things come to those who wait. And you've waited long enough for the Sprint Challenge to get underway. We will be sending the cars out, as always, from the pit lane in grid order formation, as the safety car will lead them out onto the course. And then they will do the 2 exploratory laps. The formation lap will signal and trigger start of what sets to be exciting race battle. Yesterday, the race win was taken by Geração Campos after Leonardo Herman took over the lead and then duly spun his victory away. That was in the dry conditions. What on earth is going to happen in Sprint Challenge Brazil in damp conditions? It looks as though the teams have all decided to change to slick tyres going into this race, as the lap times from the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil and the lack of imminent rainfall will almost certainly have told the team and all they need to know going into this race. Geração Campos, man who took the victory in yesterday's opening race of the season. Now he's got to try and fend his way back up the order from 7th on the grid. But Cecilia Rebello in the pink Porsche up at the sharp end of the field. Pink and purple, her particular car. It'll be fascinating to see if she can hold off this man, Caio Castro. Leonardo Herman lining up 3rd on the grid. Matheus Roque, P4. 5th position for the sport winner yesterday, Mario Dallara. Caio Chavez in the all-purple machine. His car is repaired and back to its best. And then Geração Campos in his undistinguishable, unmistakable number 82 car. Sadek Leiter lining up 8th on the starting grid. And then Daniel Newman, the rookie winner, just ahead of Lucas Locatelli, who went from leading out of turn 1 way down to P10. So the cars are ready in position. Musicians have taken their seat in the orchestra. And now it is time for the drivers to be sent out onto the circuit. Cecilia Rebello, the first of them. Pole position for the first time in her career in only the 2nd Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil race that she's ever attempted to complete. This is where things are going to get very tricky indeed. It'll be a very spicy start to proceedings for Cecilia Rebello, who leads the field out behind the safety car. We'll have 10 cars to start because Heverton Cardoso is not going to be taking this after his ferocious accident in qualifying yesterday. But now it is going to be a hard charge for remaining 21 drivers. they venture out onto the circuit. Gerson Campos just spraying away that excess bit of water on the shield. But now it is time for the race battle to commence, and it's going to be a very tough one indeed for our pole sitter, the very talented and very capable Cecilia Rebelo. She's been a race winner and a front runner in F4 Brazil, but is now ready to step up in earnest. And boy, is it going to be tricky to see who's going to get these up. Don't tell me you're going to spin on the formation lap. Well, that's the kind of situation you can get yourself into. Goodness me, a massive body slap for one of the contenders coming out of pit lane there. A very scary moment on the way out of the pits. I'm not entirely sure who that was messing up the exit of the pits. I think that might have been Christian Moore, of all people. But it can't be Christian Moore because his car is a Carrera Cup car, not a Sprint Challenge. So I wonder if we get to see that again, because that was a crazy moment getting out of the pits. That might have been Fernando Oruda, you know. So Fernando Oruda having a bit of a moment there as he exited the pit lane. But the drivers are getting ready for the start of the second weekend in Sprint Challenge. Cecilia Rebelo will be pole position. Castro will line up alongside. And then we'll have the likes of Leonardo Herman, Matias Roque, Mario Dallara, Leo Chavez, Gerson Campos and Sadek Leiter. And to round out the top 10, it'll be Daniel Newman and Lucas Locatelli. Then it will be William Araujo from Andrei Gajinski. Who's that in trouble in the pits? That is one of the all bright yellow machines. I think that is the car of Andrei Gajinski. So Andrei Gajinski, I think, is not out on the circuit and should be. Attempt to start this race from the pit lane now, just to see if that will actually help them go to the first corner, because the teams, the mechanics have all decided they are going to change for slick tyres. But there are going to be patches of circuit where slick tyres are the wrong choice. And you would actually say that with 3 or 4 minutes remaining before we are into the proper body of the race, you could also argue that the first 4 minutes slick tyres are not a good idea. But the big question is, are they the right idea for 25 minutes plus 1 lap? I would say yes, they are. But that doesn't mean that the first couple of laps are going to be very greasy, very slippery indeed. So it'll be Cecilia Rebelo alongside Caio Castro, then Leonardo Herman and Matias Roque, Mario Dallara and Caio Chavez from Gerson Campos and Sadek Leiter, Daniel Newman and Lucas Locatelli, William Araujo and Andrei Gajinski, Reina and Rafa Brocchi, then Rafael Bernardes, Luis Souza, Fernando Oruda, Ricardo Zilberman, George Filio, Jose Moranito, and at the back of the grid it will be Marquezon Marquez. So with the safety car leading the field around, Cecilia Rebelo has got so much to do here from the front end. This will be a very tricky start. Here grid in full, Cecilia Rebelo, pole position, alongside Caio Castro on the front row of the grid. Then Leonardo Herman lining up alongside Matias Roque. Challenge versus Sport on the way to the first corner. Mario Dallara, the man who picked up the victory in Sport yesterday, alongside Caio, the dominant rookie champion from last year. Then it's Gerson Campos, race 1 winner, lining up alongside fellow challenge competitor Sadek Leiter. And then rounding out the top 10, Daniel Newman, who picked up the win in rookie yesterday, alongside the sports star Luc. 11th on the grid for young William Araujo, who manages to pick his way onto the 6th row of the grid, alongside the experienced Andrei Gajinski, returning to the championship after almost a decade away from it. 13th on the grid for Claudio Reina, every chance to win the rookie race today. Alongside him on the grid, it is Rafa Brocchi. 15th position on the starting grid for Rafael Bernardes, who is there in front of Luis Souza. He was the one who ended up having the spin, leaving the pit lane exit. Fernando Oruda lining up in his car alongside Ricardo Zilberman. It'll be interesting to see how they continue to flare. And we have just 3 cars left to talk about. 19th on the grid, George Filio. He lines up even alongside Jose Monito, who steps up after winning the championship trophy. And the final man in the grid will be Makatsuki after Everton Caruso has been fit to race for the 2 races following his dramatic accident at the very start of the season. So there is Andrzej Gajinski, who has left the pits. He's now going to try and join up the rest of the field without losing too much time, but you want to push to get yourself to that point. So Andrzej Gajinski, well aware that he's now got to start this race from the back of the grid, but he's certainly going to have a lot of tough racing ahead of him. The lights go out on the safety car. And so for 25 minutes plus a lap of the Velocitta circuit, the first of 2 visits this year, right at the start of the year, life in their battle as the train is to go to scraps. Oh, and off the road, Andrzej Gajinski just trying to get himself to close up on the back of the... Gajinski has dropped the car on what is the formation lap. So the safety car is off the road, and then all hell likely to break loose because we are about to go into a 25-minute race, 25-minute plus the additional lap, and with the field pretty much predominantly on slick tyres, because that's what's going to make the most sense through 25 minutes plus the 1 lap. But whether Cecilio Bello can hold on to it, we'll find out. Out of the final turn and charging down the straight, it's green, and we are racing in the Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil. Cecilio Bello goes for it into the first corner. Leonardo Herman already lining up a move on Caio Castro as they work their way through to the first corner. But so far so good. Some rain in the air. But for the moment at least, Cecilio Bello over Caio Castro. Castro is pushing hard, trying to force Cecilio Bello to make a mistake. But so far so good as she climbs the crest in the S's. And Cecilio Bello holds the advantage. They're going to go on the inside of Caio Castro. They go run side by side. Castro comes in 17. Herman slides sideways. Castro manages to avoid it, but Herman spins in exactly the same place as he spun off yesterday from the lead. Well, Leonardo Herman just too early on the throttle, and he bins it with a perfect opportunity to go to the victory. So now Cecilio Bello is going to have to shake off Caio Castro. Up into 3rd place then, Matthias Roque, I think. So Roque now into 3rd position. Break down the hill. Don't panic, Cecilia. You've got plenty of time to hold on in front of Caio Castro and Matthias Roque. Well, when more experienced drivers, Leonardo Herman should have known better. Cecilio Bello has kept herself in check. Mario Delada looks like he's under some pressure there. So Caio Chavez is already trying to step up the attack here. But Cecilio Bello completes her first racing lap in the lead without making a single mistake. So the Bello leads the way. 2nd is Castro. Then Roque. 4th place for Delada. Then Caio Chavez, Gerson Campos, Sadek Leiter, Daniel Newman, and William Araujo as into the first corner. Caio Chavez putting Mario Delada under some pressure. So Sprint Challenge Brazil was always going to be the more chaotic of the 2 races today. And off the road goes Cecilio Bello. Cecilio Bello spins on lap 2. And she's now in the middle of the road, hoping that everybody avoids her. And there off the road goes Mario Delada. So first Cecilio Bello, then Mario Delada. Very close corners racing there, but Cecilio Bello spins out of the lead. So easily done in these conditions. There's only really one dry line. If you even get slightly off that, you are on an ice. But you've got to remember that they had to choose the slick tyres because it's a 25-minute race. The slick tyres are only just starting to come good. It's still going to take about 3 or 4 minutes for them to be perfect for the circuit. As Caio Castro has pressure from Caio Chavez. So Castro versus Chavez. This race is all about tiptoes. Got to be so careful. So let's see what happened. Well, Cecilio Bello will never want to see what happened again. Perfectly good in the first corner, but then just a little bit too much power. So easily done. And Cecilio Bello throws away the lead. And my goodness me, everybody was so fortunate to stay away. That is Alcifer Nito, I do believe. Watching along on the sidelines. Oh, and a big hit! A big hit at the foot of the course. That is the 100, Rafael Bernardes. Now, that is a big accident for Bernardes, and it's going to bring out the safety car. It does. So, Caio Castro holds on in front of Caio Chavez, and that is a destroyed Porsche for Rafael Bernardes. The safety car comes out, and it will catch up with the field at the right time, but Rafael Bernardes, big accident. That's the second time in as many days we've had a huge accident on that point of the course. So the time will continue to tick down. We've got 21 minutes left of the race. But the safety car will catch the pack. And it'll be Caio Chavez behind Castro. So the two of them were dueling down the as Castro was just fractionally in front of Chavez at the time of the safety car board. That's the way the positions will rank. Rafael appears to be out of the car, which is the good news after a very violent on the braking zone. So it's time now for the drivers to take stock of the situation and figure out what happens next, because we've got Caio Castro now leading in Caio Chavez. Third place is Matias Roque, the leading driver in sport. Then we've got San Campos and Sadek Leiter. William Arroyo is the first of the rookie drivers. And William Arroyo is alongside Lucas Locatelli. Then David Newman, then Claudio Reina, and the last man into that elite group is Rafa Brocchi, running in 10th position at this moment. So everybody just tries to keep their calm and keep their steely nerve and wits about them. This is the difficulty. They had to make a decision for the benefit of the 25 minutes plus one lap in duration of the race. And Slicks was the track was trying hard. That's how big an accident it was for Rafael Bernardes. Absolutely catastrophic, just losing the car slightly sideways. Here's how Cecilio De Bello lost it. Back end is already trying to overtake the front. I really, really feel for Cecilio De Bello. So easily done. It's not a complex mistake, but it's not easy to hold on to a lead like that when you've got you. And Caio Castro was the first one on the scene to take full advantage of it. Always a very tricky race sprint challenge. You never know who you're going to bump into. But it's already been a very dramatic race, and we barely even started it yet. So let's try and give you an update as to the lay of the land. Certainly in this race, it's all going perfectly well for Caio Castro, at least until the start, in which case Caio Chavez is all over him like a ton of red bricks strapped to a piano. Third position for Matias Roque, ahead of San Campos, Sadek Leiter, William Arroyo, David Newman, Lucas Locatelli, Claudio Reina, and Rafa Brocchi. That's the top 10. So as the drivers prepare for another crack at this Autódromo Velocitta circuit, there's a really good chance now for the man in second place. Caio Chavez really wants to put Caio Castro under some pressure. And I think he's certainly going to find it. So under safety car proceedings then, it is Caio Castro that leads Caio Chavez from Roque, Campos, Leiter, Araujo, Newman, Locatelli, and Claudio Reina in front of Rafa Brocchi, Fernando Arruda, Ricardo Zilberman, and all these fantastic racers out on the circuit. But Cecilia De Bello has recovered after the spin. She rejoins down in 16th place. Now, knowing a race like this, that could still change hands again, because we're still waiting for our dose of the daily show. San Campos got up in fantastic fashion yesterday, convert a fairly decent run into a race victory. Can he make it from two? Very, very tricky. 17 minutes left of the Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil, second race of the weekend. Now, what are we about to see a replay of here? This is going to be the start. So just look at some of the highlights so far from this race. Instantly, there was gratitude from Castro that he was able to control the pace of the lead. And then as they went their way through the S's, well, we got the proper shuffle of the deck as we're trying to get different racing lines that we would soon. It's a lot to concentrate on. Luis Souza. Now, this is interesting because that's body language. Luis Souza going off the road again. And this is Leonardo Herman span off in his position. We're watching, of course, but now we know how Luis Souza spun his car round. We also know how Cecilia Rebello did the same thing, much to the irritation of, I think that's Studebaker actually, and into the pits. The drivers will not need to come, but certainly the good news for there is that the number 100 involved in that big accident, Bernardes, is not hurt. And the lights are out on the safety car, folks. We're going to go racing again this time. On the Autodromo, it's time for the battle. We got 15 minutes plus a little bit of change there after the race. Is it really going to be a great chance to step up to the plate, be a man and go for broke? Be a racer and go for broke, I should rightfully say. But there's still every chance that this race could transform several times over. Look how close Caio Chavez is to Caio Castro on the restart. They go off the turn, they power on the throttle, and as they go down the main straight, it's green, 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 green once again here in Velocitta. Caio Chavez already trying to run around the outside of Caio Castro. As on the inside line, a couple of drivers are already going to try and defend the moves. Sadakaita just chopping across the bow of his opponent there. I think it was William Arroyo, and now he has got the inside line. So Arroyo is going to lose ground. Matias Roque almost getting tagged by Gerson Campos as they went up the climber. Victory is being played out here between Caio Castro and Caio Chavez. Two very feisty young racers looking to try and get this overtaking move. And on the far side, and I think Castro knew exactly what was coming there and knew that if he didn't re-on to it fairly quickly, and essentially he was going to be going up against Caio Chavez. So Castro versus Chavez, then a bit of a gap back. And it is one heck of a squabble for third position at the moment. Roque, Campos, Leiter, Arnold, Newman, Locatelli, Claudio Renner, and Rafa Brocchi. It gets very heated, these debates. Round the far side, Caio Chavez really sensing an opportunity now and eager to get through on Caio Castro. He's got to wait for it now as they both drift out the hairpin. But I think Caio Castro's days in the lead are numbered. Caio Chavez is going to draw level and they're going to run side by side. And Chavez is just in front of the line. And surely he'll finish that move off into the first corner. But he's going to go wheel to wheel with him. But Caio Chavez doesn't look like he's going to be backing down from this fight anytime soon. Still a crazy duel. 13 minutes left of this particular race. And Caio Chavez is trying his best to get in front of the race leader. Sorry, he is the race leader. It's Caio Castro who's trying to work his way further forward. And certainly at the inside line now, Caio Chavez really having to work hard to keep that car as wide as possible. Whenever he goes to another decent battle, he's going to find more recompense down on the inside line. Another little love tap there from Geração. Caio Castro, still the brainer of the two of us. Braking zone, turned in, dial up. Not a lot really that can be done about this from Matthias Kruker's point of view. On board with Gerson Campos. Let's listen in. No, let's not. Well, on the last lap, the fastest lap of the race came from Caio Chavez, who's certainly still putting Caio Castro under some pressure by trying to get away from him. And in third place, waiting for them all to lose ground, is Geração Campos. On board with Geração, down to the first again. The cars are exceedingly fast, but round the outside, Caio Castro better hold on to this. They've got to tiptoe their way through the apex. How on earth did they keep that going? Geração Campos unable to commit to the overtaking move for the two men in front, but this is magnificent stuff. Caio and Caio Castro have been in the same house for a year or so now, and now they race each other. It is wonderful to witness. Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil has definitely provided drivers with a lot of female line merchandise that I will be frequenting here in Shanghai next week. That is job done. Caio Chavez. Chavez finally had the money to do something for me. And this is what I chose to do. Look at me, Mum, having a great race of it up at the sharp end of the day. I could still overtake all of these guys just by keeping the statistics favorable. Geração Campos having a very tough fight of things. Braking zone for these long sweepers. Geração Campos trying to close up third position. Tight stuff at the sharp end of the field as Geração Campos, race winner in the first race, so up his opponent in second place in front of him, namely that of the part portrayed by Castro. Down to the braking zone for turn one. 10 minutes to go. If you want to reel these overtaking moves, if you want to get this stuff done, it really is now or never. You better get on with it. Knuckle down. Look for the positions around you and see what it can turn into. Leno has recovered after his earlier. He now finds himself in 8th position. So that is where the reigning champion watch comes to an end for now. So now Caio Chavez with the fastest down the race. Having got that Caio Castro. Geração Campos P4. Then it's Matias Roque. Then Newman. Rafa Brocchi. Leonardo Herman and Luigi Stoccatelli. So Geração Campos really is now trying this mistake from Caio Castro. This isn't even for the outright victory in the race, is it? But it's for second position. And you know what? It's been a really tight battle up at the sharp end of the day, as always. Still a very close run thing. The battle is raging for Geração Campos. Can he dive up to the inside line? He's going to take his bid, and he gets in front of Caio Castro. But he runs wide on the exit. Castro's going to get him back. So a quick switcheroo between the two drivers. On board with Geração Campos as we ride with him, chasing after the man in second position. Up the crest. And so far, Caio Castro has had to learn about how to Porsche Cup Brazil and Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil are the hard way. These cars not the fastest, but they are going to give you plenty of entertainment. Here's the move on the inside line from Campos. Just a little bit too G. So far, so good then. With just 7 minutes left this race, Geração Campos struggling to get back on terms then. The man in second position. We're going to see a replay of what happened here for Geração Campos. Well, he made a bid for the lead is what he did. Up inside of Caio Castro and overshot massively in the S's. But by staying on the track rather than getting the next part of course to dive up the inside line. 6 minutes 40 left on the clock. And that is a mistake from William Araujo. So what's happened to William Araujo? Are we going to see him arrive backwards? Yes, we are. William Araujo spins his way down the hill. Oh, and he actually clouted the barriers on the way through as well. Those safety tyre stacks, they help slow the car down. It's what basically this energy Everton Cardoso's big accident in qualifying yesterday. So those tyre barriers are leading, although it would not be based on where they were before the. I wonder if it's going to be a bigger mission, because obviously he ended up with 12. He ended up with a very interesting run of it. There is Caio Chavez back in the purple-headed machine. He loves the sport. He loves talking about all sorts up the road in front of him. But there is the man who is very busy indeed, West. Now we're going to get to see in the last 5 minutes of this race if Caio Chavez can stretch things away. 9 rookie victories in the 12 races he started last year. Now he's got the chance to seal an overall victory. Now continue to find our superstar. There is Cecilia Rebello, earlier spin off the road from what was the lead. She has recovered. She's now in 11th position, the adjunct of Claudio Reina. Cecilia Rebello fight her way back in contention. Not easy when you've got such pressure on your shoulders. And it's Claudio Reina behind her. And that looks like a mistake for the driver in front of her as well. So that could be a chance from Rafa Brocchi. Rebello has to trust her instincts here. Makes the dive up the inside line, but has to come off onto the wet line to fit. Brocchi has to defend on the wet line and runs wide. Cecilia Rebello picks up the pieces and the move as well. So great confidence from Cecilia Rebello. It's looking likely to me that the race starting up again. Only 3 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock. It shouldn't cause many chaotic problems. So now we're going to go and see how things continue. But Cecilia Rebello is definitely on the march as she now moves up into 9th position. Geração Campos has caught back up to Caio Castro once again. Caio, the race leader. But Geração Campos wants to make it 2 wins out of 2, and the only way to do that is to first get ahead of Castro. So Geração Campos flying over the top of the crest there on this huge long elevation climb. And it's just very demoralizing the way that this is all played out for Cecilia Rebello. So now she's got to try and work her way back through the pack. Position behind David Newman. Meanwhile, Caio Castro is still tuning away with Geração Campos. Now there's going to be a tough hands from Geração to try and take on Caio Castro. 2 minutes 20 on the clock. After this lap, there's going to be the only time for 2 more. This has already gone through and completed the lap, so actually we may end up 3 go, not 2 laps to go. Here comes Geração Campos, putting under a lot of pressure the man in front. So Caio Castro is being hunted down by Hunter, and on the inside, Geração Campos takes the lead of that battle. But he runs wide on the exit, and Castro has him straight back again. So this duel for 2nd position just keeps going and going and try as he might. Geração cannot make this. Oh, contact in the chicane. Two come together. This end of the safety car. What on earth is happening there? No brakes at all. But the 18, as Ricardo Zilberman slides into the back of Luis Souza. That's going to be a safety car, and that's going to be the end of the race. Well, Vic just couldn't get the car stopped at all. Cannons into the back of Luis Souza, and they're both stricken cars there on the bank, and it's safety car with 1 minute to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, we now know the identity of our race winner. That is going to be Caio Chavez. And it's going to be a real coming-of-age victory for him as well, because he raced in Sprint Challenge last year. He won the Rookie Championship title. But in the 12 races he started, he ended up with 9 rookie victories. But he never once managed to get a victory overall. So this is a big moment for Caio Chavez as the safety car resumes its post in the field. Well, 31 seconds above a disaster is what was said there. I would have retorted, well, yes, but if they hadn't just decided to make it cheaper for that kind of stuff to be avoided, the time ticked down to 0 just as the leaders have come through to start another lap. 3, 2, 1, 0. Your time is up, but you've still got the opportunity to wrap another 2 championship points in the bag for each gesture. So the safety car will bunch up the field, but there's not going to be any chance to go racing under conditions, as we all know. So it's a dramatic end, but actually quite a few races. There's actually quite a few drivers who would probably have thought, you know what, we're in 8th position place. I'll happily take that. And in this second half of the season, we could see a whole string of drivers choosing to get a personality upgrade. So we waited in all day for a guy like a petrol station. 2 laps to go, including the one we're currently on. But you're not going to be needing 2. You're going to be needing 1. So there is the number 21. That is Daniel Newman, who once again is the rookie component of this race. But the challenge is going to be on for the rest of this season. Sadly, not so on for this particular race, as it's going to finish behind safety car. Lots of damage and debris on those S's sections that took out of the race. Another couple of great contenders. So, with the field bunched up, hang on a minute, the safety car lights have actually gone out. So it looks like we're going to get one final lap. The Ultima Volta, it's going to be a sprint. The safety car is going to peel off, and we're going to get a final dash. I thought we were going to finish under safety car. We're not going to finish under safety car. One final lap dash. So can Caio Chavez beat Caio Castro to the victory? The safety car pulls out of the way. For the last lap of the weekend, it's green, 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 green here at Velocitta. So now the last begins. Can Caio Chavez hang on in front of Castro? Gerson Campos is going to try and go for it in a turn 1 to move up in a second position. We're right on board with him as he tries his best to get there. Sadek Leiter is waiting in the wings in 4th position as well. The drivers work their way through on this final lap of racing. Caio Chavez running beautifully out in the lead. He's managed to put a gap between himself and Caio Castro. He's now just got to hold on to it for the remainder of the lap. We're on board with Gerson Campos, chasing down Caio Chavez and Caio Castro in the satellite. Definitely giving some pressure to Gerson Campos as they go up the crest. Defensive tactics now from Caio Chavez. Even more defensive tactics from Caio Castro. Chavez is just trying to put his foot down and scamper away and hide. Gerson Campos, one final chance to get it. He's got to go for it. He hit him! Both got off the road. Geração Campos collides with Castro, and they're both out. Big accident for Geração Campos, big damage for Caio Castro, and they're both wiped out in an instant. So Caio Chavez gets a completely unbeaten, unchallenged run to the victory. He comes out of the final turn, 9 rookie wins in 2024. This time, he gets an overall sprint challenge victory. Chavez wins in Velocitta. Second position for Sadak Leiter, and third for Leonardo Herman as Cecilia Bello charges her way to the line, just in behind Matthias Roque and Lucas Locatelli. What a crazy end to the weekend as Caio Chavez becomes an overall Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil winner for the first time in his career. 9 rookie wins in 2024. This time, he takes an overall Sprint Challenge Brazil victory. Richly deserved. Well done to Caio Chavez. It's a famous victory and a very exciting battle to the line. But as far as the championship is concerned, well, big drama. Matthias Roque comes through to win the sport category, just fractions per second in front of Lucas Locatelli and Cecilia Rebello, who picks up another podium finish in the challenge category. Well done to Cecilia Rebello. Great recovery after her earlier spin from the lead. And Daniel Newman, the winner is for the second race in a row. Don't tell me that he's going to take on the mantle of Caio Chavez and dominate the rookie races from here on out. But what a dramatic end as Geração Campos makes his bid to go for the inside line. Here they come. Big accident between Geração Campos and Castro. As Geração Campos makes his attempt at the back of his rival and then bang into the barrier. Big damage to Geração's car. And a missed opportunity, a wasted chance for Caio Castro as he becomes beached down into the crevice. Here it is again. Geração Campos had to go for the move, but he should have committed earlier for me. Hard to know whether that is at fault or whether that is Caio Castro at fault. Everyone their own idea, of course. But there it is. Campos and Castro. Very last lap of the race. Out. Well, back in pit lane, the party can start because there is your race winner, Caio Chavez. He lifted the trophy for the rookie of the race 9 times out of 12 last year. Now Caio Chavez comes of age as a race winner overall in Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil. There is a very fired up and delighted Matthias Roque, who finishes 4th on the road and is the leading driver of fantastic capability and knowledge and stratagem. Great work from Matthias Roque, following in the wheel tracks of the other Porsche. Is the ultra-talented youngster Daniel Newman. Picked up a win yesterday in rookie, has picked up yet another win here today. So it seems as though the baton has been moved away from the Frenchman all the way to find Daniel Newman. Excellent racing all the way through here on this magnificently exciting circuit. Honestly, Velocitta just equals sizzle and ooze as a race circuit. So many great battles that can be fought and won on this racetrack. And Velocitta always seems to deliver. And we got drama both races right down to the wire. But it's victories for Caio Chavez, for Matthias Roque, and for Daniel Newman. Don't forget, of course, in the world of the Porsche Sprint Challenge, the drivers are also trying to fight for the victory in sporting up on those two classes. Not entirely sure what the reason for doing that is, but I'm sure someone with a bit more common sense is sure to enlighten me. Wow, what a crazy opening weekend to a championship it's been. We've had 4 completely different race winners from the 4 races. Just when we thought it was going to be one-way traffic, it ended up being human traffic. Caio Chavez, Sadaglita, and Herman in 3rd position. Matthias Roque, Lucas Locatelli, and Cilia Rebello. That's top 3 in Challenge Sport. In Challenge, at the bottom of the barrel, the Challenge rookie, I should say, 7th position for Daniel Newman. He takes the win over Rafa Brocchi, Simon Anito, and Fernando Arruda. There's your podium ceremony. The top 5 drivers. Locatelli, 4th place for Matthias Roque, 3rd for Leonardo Herman, 2nd for Sadek Leiter. But the winner's trophy overall in Sprint Challenge goes to young Caio Chavez. What an exciting young talent for Caio Chavez. Be up there as one of his drivers ever to win a Porsche Sprint Challenge race. Enjoy that moment in the sunshine, my friend. You have absolutely and richly deserved it. Excellent work and a fantastic run from Caio Chavez, the first of many, I'm sure. Last year, he completely obliterated the conversation in the rookie category. He told me he won that title while waiting for a bus for the next round. Absolutely amazing how these things work out. Not always for the better, certainly in the favor of our race victor in the Porsche Brazil. Caio Chavez that secures that pole position after an absolutely amazing start to the proceedings. So a fantastic victory then for Caio Chavez, his first in Sprint Challenge Brazil outright, his 10th class victory, and after 9 editions in various different guises of Shakespeare in Love, this man was absolutely in love with the run he had out of the course. Now we have the sport podium, and don't forget this combines sport and rookie drivers on this occasion. It's been a very dramatic race, this one. But Cecilia Rebello, after leading early doors, does bring her car back to the top 3 in the sport category. So Cecilia Rebello fans can be very pleased with what she's achieved, despite spinning off the road. There she stuck up and finished up in tie. Matthias Roque, the Challenge Sport victor, he gets the win. And it's a great way to start his campaign. He's going to have a lot of pressure in that particular car. None the least of which is hoping on the 2 drivers standing either side of him. But Matthias Roque had things well and truly planted. Good to see him pick up a sport victory. Certainly had it both ends, that candle. So it's nice for him to be able to step in and take over from his position. Very, very strong drive from Matthias Roque. And there's only one trophy ceremony really to present you with now, and it's the rookies category. It's a phenomenal job here. But the Challenge Brazil category definitely deserves to celebrate in its own inimitable fashion. So there is the final podium ceremony for the weekend, and it's the rookie podium. And this is where the very talented Daniel Newman gets to exact his authority on the race. Heat as well. But the fans are very happy indeed with the way the race has played out. It's so many drivers having started their career pathways of the competitors we're watching out there on the circuit now. The Challenge rookie victory goes to Daniel Newman for the 2nd race in a row, his first 2 races in Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil. So the drivers on the podium for the last time this weekend here at Velocitta get busy with the fizzy. The boys and girls from Brazil will be back on Motorsport TV in 2 weeks' time. The next round of the championship. Autódromo Velocitta once again. Championship to continue. Start to the season with an amazing array of incidents that took place to give us plenty of attention and plenty of drama throughout. Miguel Paludo makes history to become the 40th time winner in fantastic fashion in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil. And this man came of age today. Caio Chaves becomes the latest winner in Sprint Challenge Brazil. What does this do for the championship fight? How will things dial in from here? Well, the only way to find out the answers to those questions and more is to tune into Motorsport TV for the second round of the championship 2 weeks from now at the Autódromo. A massive thank you to Henrique Cardoso as well as to Nicolas Ottolu, our producer. From myself, Jake Sanson, and everybody here outside at the Autódromo Velocitta, we've had an absolute blast for these 2 days. We cannot wait to do it all again 2 weeks from now. Bye for now. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time.